A robotic hand reaches for a box of pressurized oxygen. In the background, a man recounts a story about his sister, Sol, who suggested he take up boxing. This, he says, was the beginning of his own personal hell. The man, Jeng Geom, continues his tale. He explains that he didn't really have a choice in the matter, as his older sister's suggestions were more like commands. He had to choose the less painful option. He tells a robot that years later, his sister admitted the real reason. She just needed a practice partner for boxing back in middle school. The robot, however, seems unable to comprehend the absurdity of the situation. As Jeng Geom is about to elaborate, the robot suddenly beeps, interrupting him with an alert. Unregistered item detected. The robot, named Pax, begins to move through the vast, automated warehouse, announcing that it is collecting the product. Jeng Geom, looking slightly annoyed, dismissively tells the robot to just do its job. Pax states its task is to move packaging boxes and asks him to step aside. After handing a clipboard to Pax, Jeng Geom stands alone as the robots continue their work, highlighting the isolation of being the only human in the automated facility. A chill runs down Jeng Geom's spine as he mutters to himself about how cold the warehouse is. The camera pans out, showing the massive scale of the warehouse, teeming with drones and robots working tirelessly on conveyor belts. Jeng Geom questions the complete absence of human workers. Looking up at the ceiling, a sense of regret washes over him. He grimaces, thinking to himself that taking this job was a huge mistake. The scene transitions to a flashback. 2 months earlier, a younger, cheerful Jeng Geom, fresh out of the military, enjoys the weather on a beautiful day, savoring his newfound freedom. However, his moment of bliss is cut short as his phone starts vibrating, signaling an incoming call that would change everything. On the phone, his parents casually inform him that the family is moving to a new city, and they've already arranged a separate apartment for him. He's left speechless and confused by the sudden news. Suddenly thrown into independence, Jeng Geom was forced to start looking for a part-time job. Though his parents had paid 6 months' rent and he had some savings, he needed to make his own money. Lying in bed, he had far-fetched dreams of a romantic encounter, imagining himself as a barista starting a whirlwind romance with a girl right in front of the espresso machine. But reality was far from his dreams. Securing any job, let alone a romantic one, proved to be an incredibly difficult task. His hopes were dashed at a cafe interview where he was politely turned away. The manager told him they preferred applicants with prior experience, leaving him dejected. A month into his fruitless job search, Jeng Geom lies in his bed, utterly bored and frustrated. He complains that he can't even get a simple job as a waiter. He texts his sisters, proclaiming himself a worthless, useless hobo. They respond with mockery, calling him an idiot and a doofus for his situation. Just as he was despairing, an opportunity presented itself. One of his sisters mentioned a chill job at a shipping company that used AI, piquing his interest. The scene flashes back to the present. Jeng Geom stands in the vast, cold warehouse, looking up at the whirring drones, once again lamenting the chilly environment. He voices his regret, realizing with dismay that his expectations of a relaxed workplace were misplaced. He hadn't known all his co-workers would be robots. As Jeng Geom complains that the job is perhaps a little too chill, a voice suddenly calls out his name, causing him to turn around in surprise. An older, heavy-set man appears, whom Jeng Geom addresses as Mr. Shin. The supervisor is annoyed about an inventory discrepancy. Canned tuna is missing, but the robot Pax insists it's in stock. Mr. Shin passes the task to Jeng Geom, ordering him to check the storeroom. As his supervisor walks away, Jeng Geom reluctantly agrees, already feeling the frustration building up. Though he forces a smile, Jeng Geom internally curses his supervisor, calling him an old bastard, muttering that even the robot Pax is friendlier than his boss. Jeng Geom heads into the vast, dark storeroom, searching for the elusive canned tuna. He spots a stack of boxes on a high shelf in the back of the storeroom. With a creak of the door, he identifies his target. Jeng Geom climbs a stepladder to retrieve a box, complaining that it should have been on the first floor. It's no wonder Mr. Shin couldn't find it. As he's perched on the ladder, he hears a creak from behind him. Before he can react, the heavy storeroom door slams shut, plunging the room into darkness. He tries the doorknob, but it won't budge. He's trapped. Using his phone for light, he begins to realize the seriousness of his situation. Frustrated, he tries calling Mr. Shin, but the call goes straight to voicemail. His supervisor is unavailable. Stranded in the storeroom, Jeng Guillaume grows annoyed that his boss isn't picking up. He briefly considers calling 911 for help. He quickly dismisses the idea, thinking it's an overreaction. He's not in a freezer, and calling emergency services for something so minor could make things awkward with Mr. Shin later. Deciding to wait, he sends a picture of his frustrated face to his sister, sarcastically captioning it, "Trapped in a storage room." She replies laughing, asking if he's playing an escape room game at work. A minute later, his sister sends a frantic message, "Holy s, I just heard a building collapse right outside." Jeng Guillaume stares at the text in disbelief. His sister immediately calls him. He answers, but before he can say, "Hello," the call is abruptly cut off with a strange electronic boop. Suddenly, a massive explosion rocks the entire building, throwing Jeng Guillaume off his feet. Stunned, he wonders if his sister is old enough to be pulling such a prank. The room is plunged into chaos as a bright red emergency light begins to flash. Accompanied by the deafening sound of an alarm siren, the ground continues to rumble violently. Thrown into a panic, Jeng Guillaume looks around in terror and shouts, what's happening?" An automated emergency announcement blares through the storeroom, ordering all workers to evacuate. The message is drowned out by the terrifying sounds of crashing and rumbling from outside. The reality of the situation hits him. Jeng Guillaume stares blankly, his face a mask of pure shock and disbelief. Panic sets in. He frantically bangs on the heavy metal door, rattling the handle and screaming for help, hoping someone can hear him over the chaos. In a desperate attempt to get help, he tries to call 911, but the call fails to connect. The line is dead. He looks at his phone in growing despair. There's no signal, and the battery icon is flashing low. He's completely cut off. As the building continues to shake, he wonders if a war has broken out. The situation is far more serious than he could have imagined. Without warning, something immense and powerful smashes against the other side of the storeroom door, the impact echoing through the room. His hand trembles as he reaches for the doorknob. A primal fear grips him, and a single thought echoes in his mind. His instincts are screaming at him. He freezes as a low, guttural growl emanates from just outside the door. In that terrifying moment, his instincts scream at him with absolute certainty. If he makes a single sound, he will die. The silence that follows is heavy with unseen menace. The silence is shattered by the sound of footsteps, followed by a blood-curdling scream that is abruptly cut short. Jeng Guillaume's face drains of color as the horrifying truth dawns on him. Whatever is out there, it is not human. And then, an eerie quiet falls once more. 3 days later, the world outside the storeroom door has fallen silent. A defeated Jeng Guillaume sits in the darkness, the distant wail of sirens and constant rumbling having finally ceased. Surviving on the canned tuna he was sent to find, he opens another can, with the alarms now silent. He's left alone in the quiet darkness, contemplating what he should do next. His phone battery has long since died. Resigned to his fate, he can only pray that his family is safe and hope that the Korean army will eventually come to his rescue. While he's grateful for the peace and quiet now that the alarm has stopped, a deep sense of unease remains. He still has no idea what catastrophe has unfolded outside. He looks up at the ceiling of his metal prison, his thoughts filled with worry for everyone he knows. Suddenly, a blue, holographic system window materializes in front of him with a soft chime. It reads, "You have been chosen. Please check your awakened ability." Jeng Guillaume stares in utter confusion. Another window appears, detailing the ability, My Parallel Dimension, a level 1 skill that can store any object in sight, with only a single use. He reads the words, his mind struggling to process what's happening. He concludes that this must be it. After 3 days of isolation and stress, he's finally lost his mind and is now hallucinating. He lets out a hollow laugh, resigning himself to his apparent insanity. Deciding to play along, he sarcastically declares that he'll use the ability to store the entire PAX fulfillment center. To his shock, the system responds, asking him to confirm the target. He gives a flippant, yeah, and is immediately engulfed by a powerful, overwhelming force. He lands hard with a thud, not on the cold floor of the warehouse, but on dusty, cracked earth. Scrambling to his feet, he finds himself in a desolate wasteland of rock and rubble, a far cry from the storeroom he was just in. He looks around, completely bewildered. In the distance, a city skyline stands in ruins under a hellish, orange sky. The horrific scene stretches out before him, A post-apocalyptic cityscape littered with overturned vehicles and the debris of collapsed buildings. He's been transported outside. As he takes in the devastation, his eyes fall upon the body of a person lying motionless in the rubble. A grim testament to the catastrophe. The system announces that it is commencing storage. A wave of intense dizziness washes over Zheng Guillaume, and he clutches his head. Feeling sick, he retches from the sudden disorientation as the system informs him that a suitable operating system has been found. As the system begins updating, he tries to steady himself, overwhelmed by the sudden bout of vertigo. While he's recovering, a massive shadow suddenly falls over him, blocking out the dim light of the ruined world. He looks up and is met with a horrifying sight, a hulking, monstrous orc with glowing red eyes. Its sheer size spelling doom. His eyes widen in sheer terror. Every nerve in his body screams at him to run, but he forces himself to stay calm. He recognizes the creature's low growl. It's the same sound he heard from outside the storeroom 3 days ago. Trembling, he knows this monster could kill him in an instant. He tries to reason with himself. Noting that the creature doesn't appear angry, he clings to the hope that he'll be fine as long as he doesn't provoke it. But then, it takes a step forward. His fragile hope of a peaceful encounter shatters as the creature suddenly breaks into a sprint. Screaming in terror, Zheng Guillaume scrambles to his feet and runs for his life. A deafening roar rips through the air. The orc's face contorts in a mask of pure fury as it thunders after him, ready to tear him apart. Screaming in pure terror, Zheng Guillaume flees as the blood-soaked monster thunders after him, its heavy footfalls shaking the ground. His mind races as he runs. It's an orc, a creature from fantasy, and it's shockingly fast. How is any of this possible? Despite his frantic pace, the orc gains on him with every step. A sense of dread washes over him as he realizes he's not going to be able to outrun it. Just as the orc is about to strike, a system notification chimes in his mind. Sync complete. You may now enter the parallel dimension. A simple, one-word prompt appears in his vision, offering him his only chance at survival. Enter. With the orc's claws just inches from his back, he screams his confirmation with every fiber of his being. Hell yes. The orc swipes at him, its claws ready to tear him to shreds. But as the attack connects, Zheng Guillaume is already being consumed by a brilliant blue light. He thinks he's too late. In a flash of light and a whoosh of energy, he dematerializes, vanishing from the ruined world just a nanosecond before the fatal blow lands. He reappears inside a serene, dark space filled with glowing blue data streams. He has successfully escaped into his parallel dimension. He looks back to see a circular portal, a window to the world he just left. The orc is on the other side, roaring in frustration, seemingly unable to cross the threshold. As one of the warehouse drones flies by, a hopeful thought strikes him. The monster can't get in. His dimension is a perfect sanctuary. The drone projects a message, confirming his hopes. As the master of this dimension, nothing can enter without his permission, not even energy. The full implication of his new power begins to dawn on him. He is the master of this space. He is safe. But then, a horrifying realization hits him. A final system notification appears, formally announcing his arrival. You have now entered the parallel dimension. He turns back to the portal, his relief turning to shock. The orc's arm has pierced through the barrier, its claws reaching into his sanctuary. The scene pulls back, revealing the full picture. Zheng Guillaume is standing in the vast, perfectly preserved warehouse. In front of him floats the portal, and stuck partway through it is the enraged orc, its head and arm now inside his dimension. His safe haven has been breached. As Zheng Guillaume fully materializes inside the space, he looks up in awe, completely stunned by the sheer scale of what he's seeing. The camera pans out to reveal a massive, fully operational warehouse stretching as far as the eye can see, complete with automated drones and robots. Zheng Guillaume stands in the middle of it all, a tiny figure in a vast complex, wondering if he really managed to store the entire PAX fulfillment center. A system window pops up, notifying him that he has entered the parallel dimension for the first time. Immediately after, another message appears, granting him a tutorial completion reward, 1 mana stone. A brilliant flash of light erupts in his hands, and Zheng Guillaume looks down, startled. As the reward materializes out of thin air, he stares at the glowing blue crystal now resting in his palms, questioning what a mana stone even is. Suddenly, his attention is violently drawn to a scene of chaos. Through a portal-like view of the outside world, he sees a monstrous, orc-like creature brutally smashing its fists against something. A close-up reveals the creature's terrifying face. Its eyes glowing red with fury as it lets out a guttural growl. Drool dripping from its sharp teeth. Zheng Guillaume looks on, startled by the beast's roars. He nervously reassures himself, saying, "That thing can't come in here." That's right. His attention is diverted by another system notification. It displays the status of the PAX Fulfillment Center, LV1, describing it as a 5-story, 300.00 square feet warehouse. Below, it details the shipping speed and capacity. He focuses on the shipping details, surprised that the shipping speed is 40 miles per hour. But then, a more alarming message appears on the system window: 2 minutes left till maintenance. Zheng Guillaume's expression turns serious as he wonders if this means the entire warehouse will shut down in just 2 minutes. A drone, acting as the system's avatar, confirms his fear is correct. It then informs him that he can use mana stones to supply the PAX FC with power. The drone continues its explanation, stating that he currently possesses 1 mana stone, which is enough to power and maintain the entire facility for 24 hours. Zheng Guillaume looks at the small crystal in his hand, skeptical that this little thing could power such a massive place. The drone, PAX, confirms it. Since the fulfillment center is now in a parallel dimension, the method of power supply has been modified. The facility now runs purely on mana stones. Zheng Guillaume processes this new reality, finding it hard to believe. He thinks to himself that PAX, the AI system, seems to have gotten a little smarter than before. Just then, the lights on the drones flicker and die out. Confused, Zheng Guillaume looks up as they begin to fall from the sky. Standing in the now darkened warehouse, Zheng Guillaume states that the power is gone. A system message confirms that the facility's power supply has been depleted. The system issues a critical warning: without a proper energy source, the majority of products, including PAX Fresh items, may suffer serious problems. The mention of PAX Fresh sends a jolt of panic through Zheng Guillaume. The system explains that PAX Fresh is a shipping service for refrigerated or frozen items, including fresh vegetables, meat, and even ready-to-eat foods. Zheng Guillaume's face turns grim as he remembers the monster outside. He realizes the outside world is now a war zone, and at a time like this, food is the most important factor for survival. He reasons that if there's no electricity for the cold rooms that store these foods, it's basically a slow death sentence. Turning to the drone, he confirms with PAX, "Hey, PAX, you said 1 mana stone can power the whole warehouse for 24 hours. Right?" The drone affirms, "Yes." With the immediate problem clear, Zheng Guillaume asks the crucial question: "Do you know how I can obtain these mana stones?" The drone responds, stating that he may acquire them from infernal beings. Zheng Guillaume looks up, puzzled by the term, infernal beings. His gaze drifts back towards the portal showing the outside world. As the new information sinks in, a look of dawning realization crosses his face as he thinks, "Is that monster?" The pieces click into place. Staring at the raging orc-like creature, he finally understands. That monster is an infernal being, and the source of the mana stones he so desperately needs to survive. Deciding to deal with the immediate crisis first, Zheng Guillaume holds up the mana stone and decides, "For now, use this to keep the place running." The system immediately confirms his action, restoring power to the facility. With the lights back on, he asks PAX, the warehouse AI, if he can still search the catalog. PAX confirms he can and asks what he's looking for. A box full of various knives and bladed tools appears before him. He rummages through them, looking for a suitable weapon to fight the monster. He picks up a camping axe. Examining it, system windows display its price alongside other items like a pocket knife and kitchen knife. He decides the axe will be the most useful. He strategizes, realizing the axe is too short to swing effectively up close, which means he'll have to throw it. He also worries that the tools are almost out of stock. He glances at the image of the furious monster, wondering aloud if these cheap tools can even put a scratch on it. Holding the axe, he observes the monster through the portal. It's just standing there, roaring. He concludes that it's going to camp outside until he emerges. A new determination settles on his face. He doesn't have to kill it in one shot. He reasons that if he can wound it badly enough, he can find a way to finish it off later. With his goal set, he declares, "All right, the goal is to wound him, not kill." He draws his arm back, ready to throw the axe, hyping himself up by remembering his past as a former black beret. The axe flies true, embedding itself deep in the monster's shoulder with a sickening stab. The monster lets out a deafening roar of pain and rage. But to Zheng Guian's dismay, it remains standing, seemingly unfazed by the axe sticking out of its body. Zheng Guian stares in disbelief at the wounded but still standing monster. "Oh, come on," he shouts in frustration. "What are those muscles even made of?" He wonders what to do now, contemplating if he should throw a pocket knife, but quickly dismissing the idea since it's too light to do any real damage. He looks into the box of tools, concluding that the only thing that could realistically hurt the monster is the heavier axe. He pulls another axe from the box, remembering there were only 2 left in stock. He turns to the AI and asks, "Hey, Pax, tell me how many of these axes we have in stock." As Pax checks the database, Zheng Guian's mind races. He considers alternative strategies, like throwing something heavy like a bowling ball to attack the monster's joints if sharp weapons aren't effective. Pax delivers a surprising response. There are 15 camping axes remaining in stock. Zheng Guian sweats, thinking he should use them carefully since there isn't a whole lot left. But then, the number registers. He looks at the box in confusion, a question mark appearing beside his head. His confusion turns to shock. "There were 15 of them when I took one out," he says aloud. Trying to make sense of the impossibility, he thinks back, wondering where the axes were stored. His eyes landing on a nearby shelf, he turns to see not just one, but a whole pile of identical axes lying on the floor, seemingly having appeared from nowhere. He holds the glowing axe, asking, why are they getting duplicated? Pax's drone flies over and explains. The items in here are created by converting real objects into digital data. Therefore, it is possible to copy the items. As another pile of axes materializes with a rattle, the drone clarifies further. They can be damaged or modified, but never depleted. Staring from the original axe to the new pile, the gears in Zheng Guian's head turn frantically. A look of disbelief and dawning comprehension spreads across his face as he voices the impossible conclusion. So basically, this warehouse has an unlimited stock of everything. The Pax drone's camera glows, delivering the simple, game-changing answer that confirms his new reality. That's right, the implications of infinite supplies begin to sink in. Zheng Guian holds an axe and looks towards the portal, asking himself, wait, so, I can just keep throwing these axes endlessly? He remarks that while it's nice, he'd need major surgery like a baseball pitcher if he had to throw axes until the monster died. Pax then reveals a game-changing ability. He can automatically ship items out of the parallel dimension without throwing them manually. Pax explains that shipping is a skill. It currently has a 30-second cooldown, but the cooldown can be reduced by powering up the skill. Zheng Guian, hearing this, questions if shipping is a skill, which Pax confirms. He asks how to use it. Pax instructs him to simply chant, "ship it," while picturing a registered product in his mind. And the item will be automatically shipped out. With newfound confidence, Zheng Guian focuses on the monster, pictures the axe, and gives the command, "ship it." An axe instantly materializes and launches through the portal, striking the monster squarely in the head. The monster collapses, its lifeless body hitting the ruined ground with a heavy thud. The immediate threat is neutralized. A glowing blue mana stone emerges from the fallen monster, flies through the portal, and is caught by a drone which swiftly delivers it to him. Zheng Guian can only look on in amazement, stunned by the delivery speed. He asks, what's with that speed? Pax informs him that the current shipping speed is set to the default of 40 miles per hour. The realization hits him. 40 miles per hour. He looks shocked, finally understanding that the warehouse's shipping speed wasn't for mail, but for this incredible new combat ability. Pax confirms this and adds that he can modify the speed. At the moment, the maximum is 50 miles per hour, but to upgrade it, he must power up the skill. Zheng Guian asks the obvious next question. How do I power up a skill? Pax provides the answer he's beginning to expect. You may do so by using mana stones. He murmurs the words, mana stones, as he looks at the defeated monster in the portal. The survival loop is now clear. Kill monsters to get stones. Use stones to get stronger. He stands in silence for a moment, looking at the body of the slain infernal being. His first victory in this new world. With the immediate danger gone, his focus shifts. He calls out to Pax, stating that he wants to look up some equipment. The broken pieces of the axe he first threw fall to the floor. Now obsolete, he begins to gear up, starting with a pair of sturdy, lightweight battle boots that materialize on his feet. Next, his work pants are replaced by a pair of tactical battle pants with a digital camouflage pattern. Completing his new lower body attire, he stands fully equipped, a determined look on his face as he prepares to venture into the dangerous world outside. His first piece of mission equipment appears, a detailed map of Seoul, which he slams and unfolds onto a surface. Next, he procures a set of permanent markers, uncapping one with his teeth. Ready to plan his route, he begins to draw on the map, circling his starting location and then carefully plotting a path towards his destination, Uejongbu. Crouching over the map, he murmurs to himself, confirming his route. Since he's starting from Gunpo, he'll have to go through several territories. He lists the dangerous districts he must traverse: Gangnam, Uljiro, and Dobong. A look of worry crosses his face as he hopes his family is okay. Realizing he needs to hurry, he acknowledges that the distance is too far to travel on foot. But a slight smile appears as he remembers he has a pretty decent method of transportation. It may not be a car or a motorcycle. The scene changes to the desolate, ruined cityscape under a burning orange sky. Jeng Guillaume rides his new electric bike down a deserted highway, a beacon of light in the darkness. With one determined thought, Jeng Guillaume is coming to save you. In the 30 minutes since he emerged from his parallel dimension, Jeng Guillaume Kim has already adapted to the harsh new world. Riding his bicycle through the desolate, debris-strewn streets, he's already taken down 12 orcs. As he navigates the ruins, a thought solidifies in his mind. In the short time he has been outside, he has learned 2 important things that could change the course of his survival. Suddenly, his thoughts are interrupted by a ferocious roar as a hulking orc lunges at him with terrifying speed. The first thing he's learned is about his ability. With a quick jump, Jeng Guillaume activates his power, creating a shimmering portal just in time to block the charging orc. The orc slams into the energy shield with immense force, unable to break through as Jeng Guillaume tumbles back from the impact. The monster lets out an enraged roar. Jeng Guillaume reflects that he was too distracted earlier to properly assess his ability. But now, facing these orcs, he's starting to understand its true potential. With a powerful slash of energy, he dispatches the creature, realizing in that moment just how overpowered his ability truly is. However, his relief is short-lived as a much larger, more menacing orc appears. Gritting its teeth in anger, the formidable orc relentlessly pummels his shield. A system window indicates that a shipping process is underway. And Jeng Guillaume mutters in frustration, "Ah, it messed up again." He contemplates the downsides of his shipping skill: a 30-second cooldown, a 30-foot maximum range, and terrible aim. However, he knows he can improve these stats by using mana stones. As another orc senses his presence, Jeng Guillaume remembers that shipping isn't the only noteworthy ability his parallel dimension Pax possesses. His other skill, product recall, allows him to automatically retrieve an item that was shipped out. An axe materializes from thin air, a previously shipped item now returned. As the axe is recalled, it splashes through the orc's hand before harmlessly thudding against his portal. Jeng Guillaume notes that this recall ability is just as useful as shipping itself. Brushing off some dust, he thinks to himself that he doesn't actually need to recall simple items like axes. The true power of this ability lies elsewhere. Standing over the corpse of a fallen monster, he demonstrates that he can use it to recall mana stones as well, though it sucks that he has to kill the monsters first. The reward is worth it. A mana stone flashes into his hand, and a system notification confirms he's obtained it, bringing his total to 13. He muses on the nature of product recall. Since he never shipped any mana stones, he theorizes that when he kills these infernal beings, they, and the stones inside them, become his property, just like loot in a video game. He considers himself lucky to have stored packs. With his parallel dimension active, he can't die as long as he stays inside. This reinforces his determination to hurry and get his family to safety within it. He pauses before his portal, a moment of reflection before moving on. And with that, he recalls the second thing he learned since venturing outside. A screech from above draws his attention to the night sky. He looks up to see a dark silhouette flying in front of the moon. Realizing with a start that orcs aren't the only strange creatures roaming this apocalyptic world. The creature, a wyvern, soars through the sky with powerful wing beats, its terrifying form silhouetted against the full moon. He squints, trying to get a better look. He wonders if it's carrying a water deer in its claws. As it gets closer, he realizes that with its wings spread, it's even bigger than an orc and would be incredibly tough to take down. But then he freezes. Is he just hearing things? The combination of screeches and loud booming sounds is far too much to be coming from just one monster. Suddenly, a faint but clear cry pierces the chaos. Help! His ear perks up. Zheng Guiam turns in shock, his eyes widening as he realizes it's the voice of a person. A wave of adrenaline washes over him. Without a second thought, he breaks into a desperate dash, panting as he sprints toward the source of the cry. A man flinches in terror as a voice cries out, "Mr. Choi," identifying the victim who is about to be attacked. The massive wyvern swoops down with terrifying speed, its sharp teeth bared as it closes in on the screaming Mr. Choi. The creature slams into him, the sheer force of the impact sending Mr. Choi flying through the air. Mr. Choi lets out a pained cry as he tumbles violently across the broken pavement. Seeing his companion in danger, another survivor bravely dashes towards the scene, shouting his name. The man reaches the fallen Mr. Choi, urging him to get up. But it's too late. The wyvern lands with a heavy thud, towering over them. The survivor looks up in pure horror, drool dripping from the wyvern's maw as it prepares to strike again. Just as it's about to attack, the wyvern turns its head, noticing Zheng Guiam, who has just arrived on the scene. Zheng Guiam is bewildered. The monster is looking right at him, yet it isn't attacking. He glances back, a wave of confusion washing over him. His confusion turns to chilling realization as the wyvern completely ignores him, its predatory gaze fixed solely on the terrified Mr. Choi. It was targeting him from the very beginning. Zheng Guiam quickly analyzes the situation. Was the monster targeting Mr. Choi because he's smaller and an easier prey? Pausing, he frantically wonders what he can possibly do. He wonders how he can possibly divert its attention. His hand trembles as he grips a tiny, inadequate knife. Just as he despairs, a faint ring echoes in the air. A brilliant flash of light appears in the distance, the ringing sound growing louder as an object hurtles through the air towards him. In a split second, Zheng Guiam catches the recalled axe and hurls it at the wyvern. The weapon finds its mark with a sickening thwack, and Mr. Choi can only look on in stunned disbelief. The massive creature tumbles to the ground as Zheng Guiam stands his ground, the arc of his throw still hanging in the air. The axe is lodged deep in the wyvern's skull, silencing the monstrous creature for good. As the axe flashes, the other survivor stares, his mind struggling to comprehend what just happened. An axe just took down a wyvern. Zheng Guiam glances over, sweat beading on his brow as he lets out a quiet sigh of relief. He thinks to himself, good thing I one-shotted him. Realizing his bicycle's headlight is still on, he turns it off and approaches the two stunned survivors. He stops his bike, his face etched with genuine concern despite the bloodstains on his clothes. Is everyone okay? He asks. The two men are speechless, staring at him and his simple bicycle. Their minds race, trying to make sense of the unbelievable scene. Could he be a soldier? They gasp, their eyes wide with shock and awe as the reality sets in. Did he throw the axe at the wyvern on a bike and actually kill it? Finding his voice, the other survivor stammers, "Soldier, you must be a soldier." Overwhelmed with gratitude, the two men bow deeply. Thank you so much. You saved our lives." Zheng Guiam, slightly awkward from the display, can only manage a quiet, "Oh, okay, I'm glad you're both all right." Seeing their continued deference, he quickly clarifies, "But I'm not a soldier. Actually," he taps the glowing PF logo on his chest. "As you can see, I'm just wearing a PAX FC uniform." The men are still in awe. The survivor says he initially mistook Zheng Guiam for a soldier because of his uniform. But even if he isn't, it's clear he has a special ability to be able to take down a wyvern with an axe while on a bicycle. Zheng Guiam casually asks if the man knew he had an ability. The survivor nods, revealing that he also awakened an ability, a seemingly useless driving skill that circumstances have prevented him from ever using. Mr. Choi lets out a small laugh, admitting he's a bit jealous of people with any abilities at all. Changing the subject, Zheng Guiam says it's fortunate that he ran into them. He asks if there are any other people around. The survivor's expression becomes serious. He confirms that there are, and begins to explain their grim situation. He recounts how a large group of people had gathered at the warehouse in District C, but their hope for safety was shattered when monsters closed in. Most of them were savagely killed. He explains that their small group of about 15 survivors took refuge in the 4th-floor basement of the District E terminal. where fewer monsters roam. They had come out to scout for a drivable road and to find food and essentials when their own warehouse suddenly disappeared. Which Zheng Guillaume internally notes must have been his doing. Seeing that Zheng Guillaume is alone, the man extends an invitation. If you don't have a place to stay, why don't you come with us? We're in the 4th floor basement, so it's pretty safe. I can guarantee you'll be able to sleep well. To sweeten the deal, he adds that they also have some snacks saved up. The offer makes Zheng Guillaume pause and consider his options. Zheng Guillaume weighs the offer. Will it be all right? They mentioned looking for a drivable road, which implies they have a working car. He doesn't need snacks or a place to sleep, but he desperately needs information, and a functioning car would be a huge bonus. Though he knows he can't fully trust them yet, the potential rewards are too great to ignore. In that case, I'll gladly take you up on that, he says. The 2 survivors are overjoyed, exclaiming that it's nothing compared to him saving their lives. As they get ready to leave, Zheng Guillaume acknowledges that the survivors are also taking a risk by bringing a stranger along. They offer to lead the way past the wyvern's corpse, and he agrees. As the group walks away from the scene, the mana stone from the slain wyvern pops out of its head with a faint glow. Without the others noticing, the mana stone flies directly to Zheng Guillaume, who absorbs it discreetly. He smirks, thinking to himself that these guys don't know the full extent of his abilities yet. He reassures himself that if anything goes wrong, he can simply run away to his parallel dimension. He concludes that joining them for a while won't be too dangerous. One of the survivors pants, exhausted from the ordeal and the walk back to their shelter. As they enter the underground garage, Zheng Guillaume is greeted by the sight of the other survivors gathered around the corpse of another slain monster. He scans the group, his eyes landing on an unfamiliar face. He gulps, a sudden sense of unease creeping in. His confident demeanor fades, replaced by a shadow of doubt and fear. He had thought this would be a safe bet, but now, he's not so sure anymore. From a high vantage point, the scene reveals the aftermath of a battle. Zheng Guillaume Kim stands over the corpse of a massive green orc, a metal bat resting on his shoulder. Other survivors are scattered around the grim area. A man with short, dark hair and a work vest, Jinmok Lee, rushes towards the group, his face etched with worry. What happened here? Is everyone okay? He yells. Another survivor calmly replies, "We're fine." Jinmok Lee, his face showing fresh scratches from a fight, explains his theory. "I guess an orc got lost and found its way down here somehow," he says, adding, "Luckily, it didn't find us first, so we were able to kill it quite easily." The camera focuses on the dead orc's grotesque face, its sharp teeth bared in a final snarl. Jinmok Lee's voice continues, "Even though no one got hurt, it doesn't look like this place is safe anymore." Zheng Guillaume Kim stands silently amidst the group, his work uniform splattered with blood. He listens intently as the other survivors discuss the unsettling event. A look of unease crosses Zheng Guillaume's face, and he gulps. He internally questions the situation, thinking, didn't the guy say that? This place doesn't get attacked by monsters. As one of the survivors turns his attention to Zheng Guillaume, he asks, "Who is this, by the way?" The sudden focus makes Zheng Guillaume flinch slightly. Another man quickly explains, "Oh, this man saved us from a wyvern that was coming after us." Zheng Guillaume stands stoically, now the center of attention. The man continues his explanation, his eyes wide with admiration. "He said he worked at PAX FC. You wouldn't believe how strong he was." Zheng Guillaume starts to sweat under the intense scrutiny. "He killed the wyvern by throwing an axe," the man recounts. "And guess what? It was strong enough to crack open the thing's skull." The other survivors begin to murmur in astonishment, wondering about his mysterious ability. Suddenly, a pair of rough, calloused hands grab onto Zheng Guillaume's, startling him. A woman with her dark hair tied back in a ponytail grins enthusiastically at him. "You saved Yongsu and Byongchul," she exclaims, her face beaming with gratitude. She continues to shake his hand vigorously, saying, "We can't thank you enough. How can we ever repay you?" Zheng Guillaume looks on, completely bewildered by the sudden outburst. Feeling overwhelmed, Zheng Guillaume tries to pull his hand back, waving dismissively, It's nothing at all. I just did what anyone would." His modesty only earns more praise from the woman, who declares, "Oh, my, you're so humble too." The friendly atmosphere continues as the woman playfully asks, "Are you single, by any chance?" while another survivor laughs and tells her that's enough. Zheng Guillaume is left speechless. Unsure how to react, Jinmok Lee steps forward to defuse the situation. Haha, sorry, you must be quite taken aback, he says. Explaining, we've all worked together for more than 10 years. You see, Yongsu and Byongchul are like family to us. With a warm and respectful smile, the manager formally introduces himself. Pleased to make your acquaintance. My name is Jinmok Lee, the manager of Daehyun Shipping's Gunpo Terminal branch. Jinmok Lee then expresses his sincere gratitude by bowing deeply to Jeng Geom. Thank you so much for rescuing Yongsu and Byongchul from danger. Jeng Geom can only say, oh, in surprise. Now addressing him by name, Jinmok Lee says, I'm Jeng Geom Kim, it's nice to meet you. He welcomes him to their hideout, noting it might be cozier than being outside and that they have food saved from the warehouse. As they walk, Jinmok Lee turns back to reassure him. Oh, and you don't have to worry about how much you eat. We've stocked up quite a bit of food, and in case we run out, we can always get more from the warehouse. Just then, one of the other survivors hesitates before speaking up, a worried look on his face. Mr. Lee, about that, I've been meaning to tell you. But, the man delivers the shocking news that turns their world upside down. That warehouse has disappeared, without a trace. The words hang in the air, followed by a dramatic do-done sound effect. Jinmok Lee is completely stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. Huh, what disappeared? He asks, unable to comprehend the statement. Wait, what do you mean? The warehouse is gone. Jinmok Lee gasps in shock. Another survivor confirms the dreadful news. It's exactly as he said. The warehouse completely vanished. That was the real reason a wyvern came after us in the first place. The revelation sends a shockwave through the group. Come on, this has got to be a joke. One man cries out in disbelief. The survivors break out into panicked murmurs, struggling to accept the impossible. How could such an enormous building just vanish into thin air? Another asks. To which someone replies, I have no clue. Jinmok Lee sighs, trying to come to terms with the chaotic situation. He mutters, with the city overrun by monsters, nothing's really a surprise anymore. But, the survivors stir nervously, the sudden loss of their safe haven and food source sending a wave of panic through them. As Jeng Geom sweats, one of the men asks their leader, what do we do now? Mr. Lee. Jinmok Lee rallies his group with a determined shout. What else can we do? It doesn't change the fact that we need to make it through the tunnel. The longer we wait, the worse our situation will become. He insists there's no need to feel discouraged, urging them to get their things together to leave immediately. One of the women in the group clenches her fist in agreement. That's right, even if the warehouse didn't disappear, it was about time for us to go. The others chime in, resolving to push through the tunnel. Jeng Geom, overhearing the plan, asks for clarification. Excuse me, what is everyone talking about? There's a tunnel you need to get through. Jinmok Lee explains that while some of them live nearby, others have families elsewhere, so they need to drive. Jeng Geom questions the feasibility of their plan. Drive. Are there any cars running at this moment? Jinmok Lee, hands on his hips, confidently replies, yes. There are plenty of cars. Jinmok Lee lays out the dire situation. The problem is, the roads are all blocked. He explains that a golf course blocks the way north, a breach of containers blocks the east, and the Yongdong Highway to the south is completely broken down. Their only way out is the tunnel to the west. But there's a huge problem. A group of wyverns have made their nest there. He concludes his explanation to Jeng Geom. We were saving up food and water from the warehouse to slowly prepare to move out that way. But it looks like we'll have to make our move now and force our way through. Jeng Geom finally understands the full scope of their predicament. Jeng Geom processes this information internally, realizing their only option is the monster-infested tunnel. Jinmok Lee tells him, you don't have to come to the tunnel with us. Jeng Geom, the roads are blocked, but it's still very possible to get away with a bike or on foot. However, Jeng Geom reveals his own objective. Actually, I also need a car. So I'll probably have to pass through the tunnel as well. His goal now aligns with the group's. Jeng Geom offers his help to the group, but his internal thoughts reveal a hidden motive. Outwardly, he says, I'd like to help in any way I can. Inwardly, he thinks, if the only thing in the way is a group of wyverns, it's a relief. I can eliminate all of them with my ability. Jeng Geom continues his internal monologue, deciding to keep his powers a secret. He thinks, but I don't need to reveal my ability to them. They do seem to be good people. But there's one thing I can't overlook. He reflects on the stark difference between his experience and theirs. That these people fought for their lives and survived in a dangerous environment. Unlike me, who spent the last 2 months in a completely safe place until now. A sense of guilt and determination settles over him. Zheng Guiam's strategic mind analyzes the group's behavior. He notes their secrecy about their food and water supply. Understanding their caution, they know how important food and water is to them at this point. He thinks. He concludes that their caution is better for him, as he also wishes to be cautious. Having formulated a plan, he addresses the group. I want to see how the situation is at the tunnel and how many wyverns there are. Why don't I go take a look? In the privacy of his own thoughts, Zheng Guiam plots his next move, so that I can clear the tunnel all by myself with my ability. He accesses his system interface, recalling that he checked for upgrades while fighting the orcs and can reduce his shipping cooldown for just 5 mana stones. A ding alerts him to a new system notification. A menu pops up titled, Unlockable Skills, presenting him with powerful new options: precision delivery, simultaneous shipping, and automatic shipping, each costing 10 mana stones. Zheng Guiam's eyes widen in shock at the power of the new skills. I'm not sure what automatic shipping really does, but the other ones are seriously OP, he thinks. Amazed that they only cost 10 mana stones each, he immediately wonders how many he currently possesses. A confident grin spreads across his face as he finalizes his plan. He's glad he saved his mana stones. I should be able to go through the tunnel by myself since they're still cautious of me, he schemes. I'll discreetly kill the wyverns to stock up on mana stones, use them to power up my abilities, and clear the way. With his secret plan set, Zheng Guiam gulps in anticipation, but as he turns, he's surprised to see the creak of a bicycle. Jinmok Li is already mounted, waiting for him. Zheng Guiam is left confused. Jinmok Li stares at him intently. It's dangerous to go alone, he states simply. Zheng Guiam is taken aback, stammering, but you just barely made it out alive against a wyvern. Jinmok Li insists, I know, but I can't send you by yourself when you don't even know the way. He then adds, also, I have faith that you will keep me safe like you did before if it gets too dangerous. Zheng Guiam listens, his expression unreadable. Zheng Guiam is internally conflicted by Jinmok Li's misplaced faith. As Li asks about how his ability works, Zheng Guiam is forced to lie, claiming he just instinctively knows how to use any vehicle he sees. He clutches his injured arm. Zheng Guiam breaks into a nervous sweat, unable to offer a convincing explanation for his mysterious abilities. Jinmok Li just stares at him, thoroughly unimpressed, and states flatly, that's not very reassuring. Ignoring his own skepticism, Jinmok Li decides to move forward. Then you can drive, but if it doesn't work out, we can just walk. With an enthusiastic vroom, he gets on the bicycle, and they set off into the desolate, moonlit city. As they set off, Zheng Guiam whips his head around, a bead of sweat flying from his temple as he mutters, what the heck? Zheng Guiam shouts in disbelief. Jinmok Li is bizarrely perched on the bicycle's frame, shouting, ride like the wind, slice through the air. As he steers, Zheng Guiam can't believe his eyes. Why are you riding a bike like that? He yells. Jinmok Li shouts back with strained determination, it's easier to see farther, since there are so many cars on the road. Thinking to himself, holy hell, this guy is mad. Zheng Guiam holds on for dear life. His thoughts are cut short when Jinmok Li suddenly points ahead and screams, wyvern! Jinmok Li panics, shouting, there's a wyvern ahead, what should I do? But as Zheng Guiam whips his head around to look, he sees nothing but the dark, empty road. Where? I can't see. Sweating and gritting his teeth in fear, Jinmok Li asks if he should keep going. He immediately contradicts himself, shouting, no, wait, I can't freaking see. As he squints into the darkness, a dark shape begins to loom from behind a wrecked red car and a green bus, speeding toward them through the desolate, car-littered street. With a sudden FWIP, a menacing wyvern with glowing red eyes appears directly in their path, its snake-like head poised to strike. Jinmok Li screams in pure terror, Zheng Guiam, what do I do? Keep going or? But Zheng Guiam cuts him off with a powerful command, keep your eyes on the road. An unseen projectile flies past them with a loud thwack, slicing clean through the wyvern's neck in a spray of dark blood. The monster's massive, toothy maw gapes open as its head is severed from its body. just inches away from the speeding bicycle. With a heavy thud, the wyvern's decapitated head hits the pavement as the two men ride on, leaving the danger behind them. Zheng Gui'an's hand glows with a brilliant blue light as he retracts his hidden weapon. He gives a firm order to the terrified Jinmok Li, "Do not look back." Shaken, Li simply replies, "All right." A moment later, Jinmok Li spots the destination. "Hey, there's the tunnel." Zheng Gui'an, who had been focused on the road behind them, looks ahead in surprise. Already, just as Zheng Gui'an thinks to himself, "It's closer than I thought," the bicycle comes to a screeching halt. Digging into the gravel, they come to a dead stop right before the tunnel entrance. Confused by the sudden pause, Zheng Gui'an asks, "Why did you stop?" Zheng Gui'an flinches as he looks into the gaping maw of the tunnel, where monstrous, sharp-tipped wings loom in the oppressive darkness. Jinmok Li begins to tremble violently, his eyes wide with horror. Sweat and drool drip from his chin as he stammers, Zheng Gui'an." The horrifying truth is revealed. The tunnel is not empty. It's a nest. Countless pairs of glowing red eyes stare back at him from the darkness, and the ground is littered with the corpses of their previous victims. Jinmok Li thinks grimly, "I think we're literally dead meat." As multiple wyverns screech, one steps forward from the pack, its leathery wings unfolding. Zheng Gui'an watches it approach, his expression grim and silent, paralyzed by fear. Jinmok Li trembles, his mind racing with despair. "It's all over," he thinks. Even with an electric bite, a wyvern snarls, drool dripping from its razor-sharp teeth. Jinmok Li continues to spiral, thinking, "We can't outrun this many wyverns, let alone kill them with Zheng Gui'an's ability." Trembling uncontrollably, Jinmok Li looks up at the ceiling of the tunnel, a look of utter hopelessness on his face. Is this where it all ends? He thinks. Resigned to his fate, seeing the absolute terror on the manager's face, Zheng Gui'an sighs, realizing his hand has been forced. "Shoot, I guess I can't hide it anymore." A ding echoes in the tense silence as he summons his system interface, its blue light casting an ethereal glow on Jinmok Li's bewildered face. As Jinmok Li stares, dumbfounded by the holographic display, Zheng Gui'an issues his commands. "Pax," a system notification immediately confirms. "Used 10x mana stones." He continues his order, "Use the remaining 5 to reduce the cooldown." Jinmok Li stares in confusion at the glowing blue interface floating in front of Zheng Gui'an. "Pax, what are you doing right now?" he asks, his voice trembling with fear and bewilderment. A nearby wyvern lets out a piercing skreek, its massive mouth agape as it lunges towards them. The entire swarm of wyverns screeches in unison, descending upon the two men from all directions in a terrifying, chaotic assault. Drool drips from the razor-sharp teeth of a wyvern as its jaws close in on Jinmok Li, who can only let out a terrified aack. Just as the monster's jaws are about to snap shut, Zheng Gui'an utters a single command, "Ship it." A brilliant blue light erupts with a FWOSH, and Jinmok Li vanishes from the bicycle, having been instantly teleported to safety behind a wall. A baffled Jinmok Li peeks out, stammering, what happened?" Zheng Gui'an calmly reassures him, mistakenly calling him by another survivor's name. "It's all right, Yongsu." As Jinmok Li stares in utter disbelief, a massive portal of swirling blue energy opens behind Zheng Gui'an. The portal reveals the impossible, the interior of the vanished warehouse, with a fleet of drones hovering at the ready. The chapter ends on this shocking revelation. The system notifications dinged repeatedly. Zheng Gui'an was using his mana stones to reduce the cooldown time of his abilities, bringing it down from 30 seconds to 20 to 15, and finally to the limit of 5 seconds. A system message informed him that any further cooldown reduction would require leveling up the parallel dimension. Below, his drone hovered, ready for the next command. With a whoosh, a portal opened in the desolate landscape. Zheng Gui'an and the survivor, Yongsu, stood before it as the drone flew through, venturing into the unknown. As soon as they stepped through, the body of a slain creature cracked open, revealing a glowing blue mana stone. Yongsu stared at it, muttering his own name in disbelief. Suddenly, Zheng Gui'an's expression turned serious. He grabbed a device and warned Yongsu, "You have to stay right next to me. That's the only way I can protect you." "Got it," Zheng Gui'an insisted. Yongsu meekly agreed, though his mind was racing, wondering about the strange warehouse he had glimpsed behind Zheng Gui'an. Suddenly, Yongsu's eyes widened in terror. A bead of sweat ran down his face as he screamed. It's coming! A massive, winged monster with a gaping maw full of sharp teeth rushed towards them out of the gloomy sky. But before it could reach them, a pickaxe materialized out of thin air and slammed directly into the creature's head with a sickening thud. The monster let out a blood-curdling screech, its red eyes glowing with pain and rage. In the background, another creature of the same kind could be seen. Just as the first one reeled, another one charged out from the portal, heading straight for Zheng Guiam and Yongsu. Yongsu reacted instinctively, throwing up a glowing hexagonal shield to block the charging beast. He cried out as the monster slammed into it. The sheer force of the impact sent Yongsu flying backward, tumbling through the air as the shield dissipated. Zheng Guiam watched as Yongsu hit the ground hard. Above them, another wyvern let out a piercing screech, preparing to dive. As Yongsu lay helpless on the ground, Zheng Guiam calmly extended a hand, a faint glow emanating from his palm. The monster dove from the sky, its jaws wide open as it rushed towards its vulnerable prey on the ground. It let out a final, terrifying screech as it closed the distance in an instant. Yongsu could only scream, "No!" as the creature's shadow fell over him, its massive head lunging in for the kill. In a moment of pure panic, Yongsu screamed Zheng Guiam's name. In that exact instant, a portal swirled into existence right in the monster's path. The monster, unable to stop its momentum, crashed headfirst into the shimmering portal with a deafening crash. With a final thwack, the creature's attack was completely nullified, and it fell lifelessly from the sky as Zheng Guiam stood calmly on a platform in the air. Blood dripped from the sky onto Yongsu's face. He could only stare up in wide-eyed shock and complete disbelief at what had just happened. Zheng Guiam landed softly on the ground and took a step forward. Yongsu was speechless. A warehouse that shoots out axes. What an unbelievable ability. As Zheng Guiam turned, Yongsu, still on the ground, stared up at him in utter confusion. I'm not sure what's going on, he thought, his mind reeling from the impossible sight. But one thing is for sure, Yongsu concluded, a sense of awe washing over him as he gazed at Zheng Guiam's unwavering figure. He doesn't see these monsters as a problem at all. Yongsu continued to stare in awe. Getting through the tunnel, he thought to himself, looking at Zheng Guiam's back. A sweat bead rolled down Zheng Guiam's face as he contemplated the path ahead. To Yongsu, it was clear, it's a walk in the park for him. He mused on the group's predicament. They needed trucks to transport food safely, as monsters could easily overwhelm them. The tunnel was just one of many dangers on their path, but that's not the case with Zheng Guiam. Yongsu realized with a start, he needs a car purely for transportation purposes. A deep sense of envy washed over Yongsu. I envy him. If I had his ability, I could get to my family pretty quickly. He wondered aloud in his thoughts. But how far is he even going that he needs a car? Just then, the screech of a distant monster cut through the air, startling Zheng Guiam. The remaining wyverns, seeing Zheng Guiam standing confidently before the portal, began to back away, clearly intimidated. The wyverns are running away, Yongsu observed, amazed. He suggested they must see Zheng Guiam as a threat. Zheng Guiam glanced back, remarking they were smarter than they looked, while internally noting he was a bit short on mana stones to upgrade his precise delivery skill. Zheng Guiam walked over to the corpse of the wyvern he had slain and casually picked up the glowing blue mana stone from its remains. Yongsu, still trying to process everything, pointed at the glowing object. What is this bluish rock? He asked. Zheng Guiam looked back, surprised. Is it your first time seeing a mana stone? A mana stone, Yongsu repeated. Zheng Guiam explained. Yes, I use them to power up my abilities. Yongsu looked down, stunned. Your abilities can get stronger. Yongsu thought to himself that he should try using one if he ever got the chance. Zheng Guiam, seeing his contemplative look, simply replied, sure. Yongsu had a flash of insight. So that's why they didn't take the mana stone from the orc corpse, he thought. I guess everyone's abilities work in different ways. He looked at Zheng Guiam with renewed admiration. I had no idea your ability was like this. A pax that fires axes like bullets. Maybe you could even clear the tunnel by yourself. Zheng Guiam offered a slightly strained smile, a bead of sweat on his brow, completely unaware of the grand conclusions Yongsu was jumping to. Yongsu's eyes went wide. Wait, seriously? He asked. Zheng Guiam was taken aback. His plan had been to simply scout the tunnel and clear it discreetly if possible. Not make a grand show of his power. Zheng Guiam's internal panic grew. Showing his abilities to anyone wasn't part of the plan at all. Misunderstanding Zheng Guiam's silence, Yongsu bowed deeply. I'm really sorry, Zheng Guiam. It looks like I only got in your way. Zheng Guiam quickly reassured him. Not at all, I didn't know the way, so I wouldn't have been able to raid the tunnel if I come by myself. Let's go back, Zheng Guiam said, turning with a flick of his hand. The wyverns are gone for now, but they can always come back. As Zheng Guiam started to walk away, Yongsu called out to him. Hey, by the way, Yongsu finally asked the question that had been burning in his mind. How come you need a car? Where is it that you are trying to go? Zheng Guiam paused, his back to Yongsu. Where my family is. The closest would be Gangnam. And my trip will end at Uijeongbu. An exclamation mark of realization appeared. Yongsu gasped. A map materialized in his mind, showing the route. Gangnam. He saw that Indegwon, his destination, was directly on the way. I need to go as far as Indegwon. It's on the way to Gangnam. Yongsu stammered, looking at Zheng Guiam's back. He hesitated for a moment before asking, if it's not too much trouble. Yongsu clenched his jaw, gathering his courage. He took a step forward and made his formal plea. Would you please come with me to Indegwon? Zheng Guiam paused, stopping in his tracks, clearly surprised by the direct request. Zheng Guiam turned around, his expression one of surprise and confusion. I'm sorry? He asked, not quite understanding Yongsu's proposition. Yongsu began to lay out his desperate situation, confessing that even if they got through the tunnel, he wasn't sure he could make it home. As you know, my ability is driving, he explained. There's probably no vehicle I can't drive, but I can't do anything about the monsters. He gestured towards Zheng Guiam, his voice filled with a desperate hope. But you, Zheng Guiam, have the ability to kill them. If we're going the same way, I can help you as well with my driving. He began to bargain, offering the only useful skill he possessed. He continued his plea, adding, maybe I can't go as far as Gangnam, but I can take you up to Indogwon faster than anyone. My ability isn't as useful as yours is. But I promise you, I won't get in your way. I can get you some food too, if you need. All the while, Zheng Guiam just stared, silently weighing the offer. Zheng Guiam considered the proposition. A thought crossed his mind. This isn't bad at all. His mind raced through the possibilities. Yongsu's driving skills are second to none. There's no doubt about that. More importantly, what if I can use this opportunity to keep others from finding out about my abilities? He thought about the danger of revealing his powers. If they learn about what I can do, who knows what they'll do? They might try and force my hand, threatening me to get what they want. In the worst case, I might even need to do something I don't want to. I need to keep my abilities a secret to avoid wasting time needlessly, he resolved. Besides, I can trust Yongsu, even though he just had a close call with a wyvern earlier. He trusted me completely and followed me here. Having made up his mind, Zheng Guiam gave his answer. Fine, then please drive me up to Indogwon. Yongsu's face immediately lit up, beaming with pure relief and gratitude. Thank you. On one condition, though, Zheng Guiam stated firmly. I will clear the tunnel on my own. Others will only get in the way. And besides, I'd rather not have everyone find out about my abilities, especially given the situation. He tasked Yongsu with convincing the others. So I'd like you to talk to everyone and convince them to let me take on this task by myself. Yongsu, brimming with confidence, tapped his chest. All right, leave it to me. I'm sure they will cooperate if I talk to them, Yongsu declared, his face shining with an almost heroic self-assurance. Returning to the group of survivors, Yongsu immediately, and very loudly, made an announcement. Listen up, everyone, we can all get through the tunnel, he boasted. With a dramatic flair, he revealed the plan in the worst way possible. Zheng Guiam told us to wait outside the tunnel until he clears it with his awakened ability. I know you must be curious what his ability is, but please don't be. The important thing is that he can definitely clear the tunnel. The sound of doom echoed in the background. Zheng Guiam's face was a mask of pure, unadulterated shock. Blood-red question marks seemed to pop into existence around his head as he processed the catastrophic blunder. Zheng Guiam screamed internally. Dude, I asked you to keep it a secret, not tell everyone about the secret. The other survivors began to murmur among themselves, wondering why he had to go alone and why he couldn't tell them how he'd do it. Oblivious to the internal chaos he caused, Yongsu grinned and confirmed. That's right. The crowd's confused crackling grew louder. Standing behind Yongsu, Zheng Guiam had a single, sinking thought. I'm screwed. Their leader's clearly a dangerous guy, the first need to watch out for. Zheng Guiam thought, his eyes darting to the group's stern-faced leader. Mr. Li and Yongsu just made me seem even more suspicious. Despite the disastrous turn of events, Zheng Guiam hardened his resolve. Whatever, no use crying over spilled milk. I'm going for it, he decided. He then announced, tomorrow morning, I will clear the tunnel so that everyone can go through, even though they might not trust me. I have to try, he thought, sweating as he glanced at the wary survivors. They're probably most worried about the food supply. So I'll clear the tunnel as soon as possible, then they won't have to worry about food too much. His thoughts were interrupted as Mr. Li stepped forward. Calling his name, Zheng Guiam flinched, bracing himself. Mr. Li's gaze was intense. I won't ask what your ability is, or even be curious about it, he said, his voice surprisingly understanding. I'm sure you came to that decision for our sake. If it's better for you without our help, then we'll stay out of the way. Mr. Li continued, then paused, but he gestured to another man, who brought a box forward. He presented Zheng Guiam with a cardboard box filled to the brim with canned goods and water bottles. A precious stash in these desperate times. Please at least take some of the food we had saved up, Mr. Li insisted. Everyone wanted to contribute. You see, even though you risk your life to scout the tunnel for us, giving you a little bit of food is all we're able to do. Zheng Guiam began to sweat, completely flustered by their generosity. Wait. Hold on, he started to say. But Mr. Li continued, and now, you're going so far as to clear the tunnel for us. Thank you so much. In a stunning, unified gesture, the entire group of survivors bowed deeply to him. A voice from the crowd expressed the collective sentiment, full of emotion. I'm sorry that saying, thank you, is the only thing we can do. Genuinely overwhelmed by their heartfelt gratitude, Zheng Guiam reflexively tried to refuse. And not at all, he stammered, feeling undeserving. I just did what I had to. You don't need to do all this. He tried to push the box back. You must have saved up the food for your families. I'm really fine, so please. His words were cut off as Yongsu gently placed a hand on his shoulder. Yongsu smiled kindly. Just accept it, Zheng Guiam. It's a really kind gesture on everyone's part. So if you turn it down, it'll seem a little cold. He then added, his voice full of warmth. Besides, we're not the only ones with families. You have a family too. The words struck a chord with Zheng Guiam. A soft, warm light filled his vision as the word echoed in his mind. Family, my family. He saw a hazy, beautiful memory of smiling faces. The mood in the makeshift shelter lifted. Mr. Li looked at the offering of food. Well, if the tunnel is getting cleared tomorrow, it's time to bring that out. Don't you think? Another survivor agreed. True, now is as good a time as any. All right then, someone declared with a celebratory shout. Let's bring out the booze. 2 beer bottles clinked together, signaling the start of an impromptu party. Mr. Li held up a bottle of whiskey with a smile. We don't have that much, but it's a good thing. We'll drink moderately, then go to our families tomorrow. The survivors raised their drinks in a collective toast. Cheers to a safe trip back home, one yelled. Another added, cheers to the safety of our families. The air was filled with laughter and hope. Then, a single voice rose above the others. Cheers to Zheng Guiam. The scene faded into a bright, optimistic sky, full of promise. The next morning, under a clear sky, a hand gripped a familiar pickaxe, its metal head flashing in the bright sunlight. Zheng Guiam sat on a bicycle at the entrance to the dark tunnel. He looked back at the group of survivors with a confident smile. Don't worry about me, just wait here. With that, he turned and pedaled into the darkness. The entire group of survivors stood in a line behind their parked trucks, watching as their lone hero disappeared into the gloom. A final shot showed Zheng Guiam's determined face as he rode towards the unknown dangers of the tunnel. The hopeful faces of the survivors behind him. He had one thought on his mind. I'll be back in no time.